Hi everyone, Kevin here. Have you ever wanted to create stunning videos effortlessly that you can post to YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram? Well, today we'll learn how to do that using Wondershare Filmora 13, one of the most popular video editors out there. When I asked all of you which video editor you wanted a tutorial on, Filmora topped the list. I worked with the Filmora team to get the inside scoop. In this video, we'll create a short for the Kevin Cookie Company. We'll start by importing media, building the story on the timeline. Then we'll add some titles, graphics, transitions, we'll generate music, we'll use masks, and so much more. Plus, we'll dive into Filmora's new AI editing capabilities that make everything that much easier. Filmora is free to use with most features included, though the free version includes a watermark. To remove the watermark, they offer a variety of very affordable paid plans. All right, well, let's dive in and start editing a video. To get Filmora, head to the following website. You can click on the card right up above, and I've also included a link in the description. Once you land on this website, click on the button that says Download. You can download and install on Windows or Mac, on your phone, and even on tablets. Basically, you can get Filmora wherever you want to edit videos. If you'd like to follow along, I've also included sample footage in the description. Simply click on the link and you'll have all the files I'll be using. Once you've finished installing Filmora, you'll land here on the start screen. And right at the very top, you can kick off a brand new video project. And in a moment, we'll do this. But before we do that, let's see what some of the options are here on the start page. Down at the very bottom, you could also get back to recent projects that you've worked on. And right here in the center, you'll also see some of the new AI tools that are available and come with Filmora. Over on the left-hand side, you could also jump into the AI toolbox, and there are lots of different tools that you could take advantage of. And as we work through a sample project today, we'll look at what some of those tools are. Over on the left-hand side, let's now click back into Create Project. And I want to pull together a short for the Kevin Cookie Company that shows people how to make our delicious chocolate chip cookies. Now, this is a short or a reel that we'll place on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So I need to adjust the aspect ratio. Currently, it's set to 16:9. This is widescreen, but if I click on this, I have all of these different options. Now, for a vertical video, I want it to be 9:16 or portrait, and here we see a visual of what that looks like. I'll select this option, and then let's click on New Project. This drops us into the main Filmora editing interface, and we're going to use this to pull together our video project and to tell our story. And at first glance, this may appear a little bit overwhelming. Right up on top, you have all these different menus. Here, you have all these different buttons, and you have all these different panels. What do they all do? Well, don't worry, as we go through this sample video project, we'll make sense of much of this, and you'll be editing in no time. To kick off our project, the first thing that we want to do is to import some media. So think of things like videos or audio or images. We're going to use all of these different items to pull together our story. Right up on top on this toolbar, you'll see an option for media. Let's click into that. And right here, we see the option to import media. We're going to start with that. And again, if you would like to follow along with this video, you can use the exact same media that I'll be using. Simply click on the link in the description and you could download it and then you could follow along. There are lots of different ways that you could import media into Filmora. You could click on this button right here and this will open up your file picker and you can now navigate to where you have the media on your computer. I'll close out of this. Now, my preferred method to getting media in, you could simply navigate to where you have your media on your computer and then you could simply drag and drop it into Filmora and that'll import all of your media into the project. Now, right up on top, you also have this drop down and currently it says import, but you have all sorts of different ways that you could import media. You could even import from your camera or your phone. Down below, you could also import from, say, Google Drive, OneDrive, or Dropbox. So again, no shortage of ways to get your media into Filmora. Along with importing media, you can also create media directly within Filmora. Up on top next to the import menu, you also have a record menu. You can record new media from, say, a webcam. You could record your PC screen, and you could even record voiceovers. Over here, you have the option to search against all of the media that you've imported into Filmora. So that way, if you're looking for that one specific clip, here, you can search for it and find it. And over on the right-hand side, you can also filter down by media type. So here, if you just want to see your video files, or maybe just your audio files, you have that option. And when you click on the three dots, here, you have different views. You could sort the files in different ways and also group the files. So again, Filmora makes it really easy to get back to the media that you want to work with. Now that we've imported all of the media, let's go down to the very bottom and look for clip number 1. I'm going to double click on this. This now opens up this clip over in the player in the center of the screen. This is where you can preview all the different media. Down at the very bottom, you have all of your different playback controls. So here, for example, if I want to play or preview this clip, I can click on this icon.
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies in just 60 seconds.
Here, I'll click again to pause. Over here, I could also stop. Now, if I hover over any one of these icons, you'll see this tooltip that tells you what the shortcut key is. So here, for example, on the play icon, you'll see that if I press the spacebar key, that will also play the video. So let's try that. So there it plays it. Now, all the different icons, if you hover over them, you'll see a similar tooltip with the associated shortcut key. If you're interested in seeing all of the different shortcut keys or even customizing the shortcut keys, in the top left-hand corner, you can click on the File menu. And right down here, you'll see the option for shortcut keys. And yes, shortcut keys even has its very own shortcut to get to shortcut keys. How meta is that? And if you click on that, here you can see all the different shortcut keys. And again, you could also customize them. Perhaps you have your own preferences and you can set them here. I'll leave them all set to the defaults. Back within the player, up here, you can also set the quality level of the playback. Currently, it's set to full quality, but if you notice that it's not playing back that smoothly, you can try adjusting this to a lower quality level, and that could improve the experience. Here, I'll click out of this menu. Although we've watched this one clip, it's not yet part of our video project. If we look down at the very bottom, we have something called the timeline, and this is where we can order and arrange all of our different clips to tell our story. And currently, there's nothing there, so we don't have anything in this video yet. Right now, we just have all of our individual clips, but we need to start ordering them. I want the video to start with this clip of me saying that we're going to learn how to bake chocolate chip cookies. To get one of your clips down to the timeline, here in the preview player, here I can simply press and hold on this clip and I can drag it down to the timeline. And here when I drag it down, you can choose where you want to place it. I'll put it right here at the beginning. When I drag the media down to the timeline, I get this scary looking message telling me that the resolution or the frame rate of this media does not match the settings of the project. Here I can see what the media settings are, and here I can see what the project settings are. Now, it looks like the frame rate is different between my media and the project settings. Now, I know that all of my media uses 30 frames per second, so over here, I wanted to match my media. We'll set it to 1080 by 1920, or that's the resolution and the aspect ratio of the media, as well as the frame rate. I'm happy using that, so here I'll click on this to change the project settings. And look at that, congratulations! Our video project now has its very first clip, and we're making very good progress. Now that we've added our first clip to the timeline, we probably want to add a second clip. I mean, otherwise there is no chance this video will ever go viral. Up on top in the media bin, I see a clip called clip number 2. And along with double clicking on it and then dragging it from the preview player, I could also simply press the clip right here, and then I can drag that down to the timeline. And here I could choose where I want to place it. I want it right after that first clip. Now that this clip is on the timeline, this timeline or video is now made up of these two different clips. I can also adjust the order of these clips. So let's say actually I want to start with clip number 2. I can press and hold on this clip, and here I can move it to the beginning, release, and that switches positions with that first clip. But I actually want to start my video with this clip. So over here, I'll press and hold, drag it to the beginning, and that now shifts the order again. Over to the left-hand side, you might notice this red bar here. This is referred to as the playhead, and this shows you your current position on the timeline. Right now, I'm at the very beginning of this video, or basically at the 0 point. Now, I can click on this playhead and I can move it along the timeline. And when I do that, you'll notice that the player up above shows me where I am on the timeline. So not only does this player preview or show all of the different clips in your media bin, but you can also play what's on your timeline. So right here, if I move the playhead to the very beginning and I click on the play icon,
here's how you can bake the best.
This will play what's on my timeline. If I want to shift back to, say, previewing one of my clips, right up above, I can double click on one of my clips. And there, that now shifts it to the preview mode. So this player plays clips both in your media bin and it also plays your timeline down below. Now that we've added some items to the timeline, you might notice that the clips only take up a small portion of the overall timeline. You can also adjust the timeline zoom so you can see all of your different clips better. Right up here, you have some controls. Here, if you click on this, you could zoom out, or over here, you could zoom in. You can also use shortcut keys. Once again, just about every icon has its own shortcut keys. When I hover over, here we see you could press Control equals, and that'll zoom in, or here, you can press Control together with minus, and that'll zoom out. You can also press Control on your keyboard together with your mouse wheel, and here, you could scroll out, and you could also zoom in. Now, one of my favorite icons, and also shortcut keys, right over here, there's the option to zoom to fit timeline. When I click on that, that'll fit all the contents within the timeline view. And here too, you also have a shortcut key. This is a good one to learn. Press Shift together with Z. So here I'll zoom out, press Shift together with Z, and that fits all of my contents to the timeline view. If we look at the first clip in this video project, here you'll see a preview of all the different frames contained within this clip. And underneath that, you'll see what kind of looks like a mountain range. These are the waveforms for this video. This represents when there's sound in the video. So the horizontal is the time and the vertical is the sound level. And you can see that I start talking about 1 second in. Here, I'll move the playhead to the beginning and let's listen to that.
Here's how you can bake the best.
So there you'll see I started talking right at this point, and then the waveform represents that sound coming through. Now, ideally with this video, I want it to start right as I start talking. I mean, no one wants to watch me just preparing to speak. So I want to start the video right here, and I need to trim the clip. It turns out there are many different ways that you can trim a clip. Let's explore a few of the different options. First, you can use the edge of a clip or the trim handles to trim a clip. When I go down and I hover over the edge of this clip, you'll notice that my mouse icon changes. And here I have a trim icon. I can now press and hold with my mouse, and there you'll see a line, and I can now pull it over right up to the point where I want this clip to start. And there you see that it snaps to the playhead or that current position. Now, if we go over to the right-hand side here, you'll see that I also stop speaking right at about this point. And the way I know that is the waveform ends at that point. And here too, with the end of a clip, I can also press and hold my mouse. There you see my cursor changes, and I can press, and let's drag right to about there when I stop speaking. And there, that'll trim the clip. Also, when I trim it, you'll notice that the gap in between these clips automatically gets filled in, and this other clip snaps to the first one. That behavior is referred to as a ripple edit. So here again, if I trim this clip, let's trim it right to about there, you'll notice there's a gap right now between the two clips. But when I release, it automatically fills that gap and it makes sure that these two clips stay together. I'll press Ctrl-Z on my keyboard to undo that change. Now, if you would prefer for it not to fill in that gap, over on the left-hand side, we have this icon, and this says Close Auto Ripple. So if you want to turn off the ripple behavior, simply untoggle this. Here you see a line through it. And now if I trim this clip, let's trim it right to about there, it'll leave that gap. So it really depends on how you're editing your video and if you want the clips to stay together or whether you want control and you want to manually move them together later on, you have that option. I'll press Ctrl-Z to undo, and let me press Ctrl-Z again to undo that trim. Let's press undo 2 more times because I want to show you a few more ways you could trim. I'll press Ctrl-Z. Here, that re-adds the back portion of the clip, and Ctrl-Z again, and that re-adds the beginning portion of the clip. Trimming a clip by hovering over the beginning and the end works just fine. But one thing you'll find is, especially as you start getting many different clips on your timeline, that's somewhat time consuming. And again, I know I've mentioned this before, and I may very well sound like a broken record, but using shortcut keys will help you save so much time. And this is one of the best sets of shortcut keys to learn. Over here, I'll make sure to select the first clip in my timeline. And right over here, I have the playhead at this point. You can press the Alt key together with the open bracket key on your keyboard, and that will also trim a clip. There you see I have the ripple turned off. So here I can undo, let's turn ripple on. And if I press Alt together with open bracket, there, that trims the beginning of the clip. Now I can move the playhead towards the end. So right here, that's where I want to cut it. And I can press Alt together with close bracket, and that will trim the clip right at that point. I think you'll find that shortcut keys are a much quicker way to work and to edit your video. Now, that works well, but there's now yet even another new way that you could trim your clips. And honestly, this one's probably even easier. I'll press Control Z again and Control Z, and that brings our clip back. Now, you can edit or trim your video using AI. So over here, with this clip selected on my timeline, I'll right click on it and I get this large menu with all these different options. And here too, you see the option to trim. So trim start to playhead, trim end to playhead, and there you see the shortcut key. But if we go down just a little bit in this menu, there's something called the Smart Edit tool. And over on the right-hand side, you'll see this new icon next to it. There's something called AI text-based editing. Let's click on this option to see what it does. First, we'll need to select a language. Mine happens to be English. Over here, I'll click on OK. This now opens up the AI text-based editor. Here, I can see the clip. Here, I also see a timeline. And up above, I can see a transcript of every single word that's said within this clip. Now, I could come through here, and you'll see as I move my cursor along, that'll also jump to that point in this clip. Now here, let's say I want to delete chocolate. I could delete that word, and that edits the video clip down below to remove that word. Now, obviously I don't want to just say best chip cookies, so let's press undo to bring that word back. Now, at the very beginning, you'll see this ... and also at the very end, you'll see this ... That represents silence in this clip, and that's exactly the portion that I want to remove. So over here, I could simply highlight the ... and I could delete it, and I could do the same at the end. Or up in the top right-hand corner, I have this option to delete all silent clips. And when I hover over this button, you'll see that it highlights the ... down below in the text. That's exactly what I want to edit out. So I'll click on this. Let's delete that. And here you'll see it automatically edited or trimmed my clip. And down below, I can now click on Export to Timeline. Let's click on that. And there it's automatically edited my clip to remove all of the silence. Now, honestly, I think that's even quicker. And there you can see exactly what it's going to do to your clip. Here, you'll notice that it added another layer or video track to my project. And here you'll see text. I'll take the playhead and let's move right to about here. Now, we see this text sits on top of the video. It's basically like a sheet of paper on top of another sheet of paper. So over here, if we look at the preview window, here you'll see that it has now added text on top of everything that's being said. Now, I don't want to add captions to this video file. We'll go in and we'll do that later. So for now, I'll select this new text object that's been added to the timeline, and I'll press the backspace key, and that'll remove it. And up here in the preview window, you'll notice that there's no longer any text sitting on top of this video. Let's now look at another way that you can trim a clip, but this time before adding it to your timeline. Up above in the project media, let's scroll down to the bottom and you'll find clip number 3. I want this to be the next clip in my video project, but this time let's trim it first. So over here, I'll double click on this clip, and here I can see the preview over on the right-hand side. There I can see butter falling in the bowl. Now here, if I click on this icon, I can scrub through the video, and you'll notice for the first few moments or the first few frames, nothing is happening, and I want it to start with the action. So here, let's scrub along, and there the butter falls in. So maybe we start right at about here. I want this to be the in point, or where it starts. Right down below, we have some additional icons. And over here, if we hover over this one, I can mark an in point. That just means when this video should start or when that clip should start. You could also press the I key. I'll click on this and that sets an in point. Here you'll now see a visual, and this represents when this clip will play. So here it won't play this beginning portion, and it'll start right here up until the end. Also, if we look over at the project media, here you'll also see a visual representation of when this clip starts. Now over here, I could click on this handle and I could drag it if I want to make slight adjustments, but I think it's in a good spot, so I'll leave it right there. Now here, if I scrub through, you'll notice the butter falls into the bowl, and then it just sits there, and that's not that interesting, so I want it to stop after it lands in the bowl. So here, let's scrub along, and here we see it stop right at about there, and I think that would also be a good point to end the clip. Now, if we go down below, here we have another icon, and here we can mark the out point, or when the clip should stop. I'll click on that. You could also press O on your keyboard, and here we see that it moves the out point. Now here too, just like with the in point, I could click on this and I could adjust it or tweak it, and I want it to end right at about there. And now that I've defined both the in point and the out point, down below we have this other icon, and I can now insert the clip. If we click on this menu icon, here I have different options. We could insert it at the end, I could insert it after the cursor, or we could overwrite the current clip. So you have different options, but I want to place it at the end. I'll click on that option, and that inserts it right there at the very end. So this is another way that you can trim your clips. You could go through all of your project media. You could set the in point and the out point on each individual clip. And once you do that, you can then add it down to your timeline. So it's a different style of editing your video. You could add your clips to the timeline and then you could trim down below, or you could simply trim ahead of time and then add it to your timeline. So it really comes down to which technique or method you prefer. If we look over at clip number 2 in the timeline, it is a very long clip. And here, if I go to the beginning, let's play it. Here we show all the different ingredients. So there it kind of sweeps over and it shows them. And here it sweeps back and shows them again. Now, I don't think people want to see the ingredients for this long, so we need to trim down this clip. But instead of trimming, we're going to use something called cutting. So let's say I just want this shot. Here, the movement takes a moment to get started and then it starts moving. So maybe we'll have it start right at about this point. Now I can cut this clip. If we look at the playhead, you'll see this icon with scissors. Now I can click on that and that will cut the clip right at that point where the playhead is. Now, alternatively, I can also press the C key on my keyboard, C as in cut, and that opens up the quick cut tool. And look at that, it looks like a razor blade where I can now insert a cut. So let's go ahead and let's preview through. So there it kind of goes over, it sweeps over all of the different ingredients sitting on the countertop. And let's say I want it to stop, let's say right at about there, once it finishes the sweep. So now, with my cursor over the clip, you'll see this line, and if I click there, that'll now cut the clip. So now I've cut just this portion. Now, over here, you can press the V key and that'll return to the selection tool. Now, if these keyboard shortcuts are hard to remember, over here, you could also click on this icon and this reveals the menu. So here you have the select tool, and this is what we've been using all along. But here you have the C key, which opens up the quick split mode. Now you could press C if you just quickly want to open up the cutting tool, or you can move the playhead and then you could click on the scissors. With Filmora, you have lots of different options to do the same action, whether it comes to trimming, whether it comes to cutting. So it really comes down to your preference and how you prefer working. Do you like clicking on icons? Do you like using shortcut keys? Again, lots of different options. Now I'm going to remove the beginning portion of this clip. I'll select it, and then I can press the backspace key on my keyboard and that removes it. Over here, I'll select this end portion of the clip, press backspace, and that also removes it. Let's now press Shift Z to fit all of these clips to the timeline. And let's now focus on clip number 1. Over here, I'll click on this clip. Let's also move the playhead over. Over here, I'll click on the playhead and let's drag it over so we can see clip number 1. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, when I clicked on this clip, you'll see all of the associated properties of this clip, and you have lots of different options. For example, here at the very top, we have something called transform, and here we have something that says scale. Now, currently this is at 100% scale, but here, if I move this slider, I could zoom in on the clip, or here I could zoom out. And you'll notice at 100% it fills the frame, but if I zoom out, you'll see that these black lines appear. That's because there's no other content when I go below 100%. But over here, I could also zoom in. Now, when I adjust any of these properties, you'll also see that there's this icon that appears. This allows me to undo this specific property or any changes that I've made to that property. So if I click on this, that will undo that change. Now down below, you could do things like adjust the position. So here I could adjust the position, and over here I could reset. You could also rotate. So here we could go upside down, but that doesn't make much sense. So let's undo that. Over here, you could also do things like flip. Here you could rotate, all sorts of different options. And if we go down, here you have lots of different controls that allow you to adjust the properties of this specific clip. Now right now we're currently in basic, but you could do things like set up a mask. You also have a variety of different AI tools. You can animate. Here you could adjust the audio. So for example, if I want to normalize the audio or make sure that the highs in the waveforms hit the top level, over here, I can turn on auto normalization, and that's now normalized my audio. Here, if we look down, lots of other options like sound balance. You could have it fade in, you could have it fade out, you could adjust the pitch. Up here, a really fun one to experiment with. There's even a voice changer. So here you could apply different filters and you even have different voice characters. Maybe you want to sound like a hacker? Well, you could do that. Up above, you could also do things like adjust the color and lots of different options here. And over here, you could also adjust the speed of a clip. Now here you could set it for a uniform speed. So maybe you just want to increase the speed of the entire clip. Well, you could set that. And there's also something called speed ramping. That's where you could have it start out slow and then speed up, and then maybe you have it slow down again. So with properties, you have lots of different ways that you can control your clip. For now, let's jump back to video, and we're going to start in basic, and we'll talk about a really key concept called keyframes. I think I can make this clip a little bit more engaging if I very slowly zoom in on this clip. And keyframes are really the perfect tool to help us with this. Now, right up on top, I'll move the playhead to the very beginning of this clip on the timeline. So right there, that's when I want the zoom to start. Now, over on the right-hand side, we have this option for scale, and here I could scale up the clip. Now, I want it to start at 100%, so here I'll undo that, and we're back to 100%. And over here, I have this icon, this diamond. This is called a keyframe, and I can now click on that, and that applies a keyframe. You'll see that it's also added a diamond to this clip. That defines the property at this specific point in time on my clip. Now over here, I'll take the playhead, and let's move it along the clip. And I want it to zoom in right up until the very end of this clip. So right at this point. In the properties over here, I'll click on this diamond icon, and this again applies another keyframe. And here I can define what I want the properties of this clip to be at this specific point in time. So over here, let's zoom in just a little bit. Maybe I'll zoom right to there. Now, what it'll do is it'll look at what the zoom level is at this first keyframe, and it'll look at what the zoom level is at this last keyframe, and in between them, it'll move from one zoom level to the other. So here, if we play it back now, here you'll see it starts at this keyframe and then it zooms into this keyframe. I kind of like that. I think that makes it a little bit more engaging. Let's move the playhead back just to make it really clear what's happening with keyframes. I'll move it all the way to the beginning, and here I set the keyframe to 100%. Now, when I move the playhead towards that second keyframe, take a look at the scale. You'll see that it slowly transitions up in a linear fashion until I hit that second keyframe where I set it to 119%. Now, you could set keyframes for all sorts of different properties. Here I have it set for the scale, but you could also set it for the position if you want it to move from one position to another. Or you could set it for the rotation. You could define where it should be in one frame and then where it should be in another frame. And you could apply keyframes to all sorts of different properties. Here, for example, if I click on the audio, you could set it for the adjustment. Or over here, you could set it for color, and you'll see this diamond icon all over. So you could set keyframes. Maybe you want it to start from black and white and then shift to color. You can use keyframes to accomplish that. They are very powerful, and it's well worth spending some time to experiment with them to really understand how they work. Looking at the video so far, I think we can make it a lot more engaging. Instead of me just talking about making chocolate chip cookies, why don't we actually start by showing the chocolate chip cookies? Maybe I could place the chocolate chip cookies behind me instead of this generic kitchen. If we look over at the left-hand side at all of the project media, right here we have clip number 14. And when I double click on that, we have this beautiful video showcasing what we're going to make. Why don't we start out by showing these? That way people will get excited about making these chocolate chip cookies. So first things first, let's click on this clip, clip number 14, and let's drag it down to the timeline. And I'll place it right down here on video track number 2. I want this new clip to be the same length as my talking video, so I need to trim it. And again, we looked at many different ways that you could trim a clip. I'll place the playhead right at the end of my talking portion, and over here, I'll trim it right to that same point. If we move the playhead to the very beginning of the video and I press play, here you'll notice that the cookies sit on top of me talking, and you can't actually see me talking. And the reason why is it's on video track number 2. Anything that sits on a higher level track sits on top of what's below it. That's why you can't see me. Also, when I play it, you'll notice that there's a lot of sound on clip number 14 and you can't hear me talking. So I want to mute or turn down the volume on the sound on clip number 14. So with this clip selected, again, when I select a clip over on the right-hand side, I get all the different properties, and I want to mute this clip. So that's related to audio. Up on top, let's click on audio. And here I have all these different adjustments that I can make. But one of the options says volume. So let's pull that all the way down. Here, I'll turn it all the way down so that'll turn off the sound or effectively mute it. And now when I play,
chocolate chip cookies in just...
You could hear me talk, but you don't hear all that background noise from clip number 14. That's exactly what I want. Now, I want to appear on top of the cookies. So over here, I'll take my clip and let's move it to a higher video track. I'll place it right there. And here we could select both of these different clips and I can pull them down. So now I should appear on top of the cookies. But now we just see me and we don't see the cookies. So how do I get rid of this background so we just see me and we see the cookies underneath? Well, we're going to use something called Smart Cutout. I'll select this clip right here where I'm talking. This is the video with me. And over on the right-hand side in the properties, let's click into video. And right over here, we have that category called AI Tools. Let's click on that. And here we have all sorts of different options. There's one option called Smart Cutout. And this one is really neat. Let's toggle this on. And look at that. You could already see the cookies behind me, but it's not quite perfect. So we need to make some refinements. Let's click on this button to start Smart Cutout. Within Smart Cutout, right up on top, I have different tools. Over here, I can use the Smart Brush to indicate areas that I would like to keep. So I'll click on that, and it looks like it didn't quite get my shirt right. So here, I'll highlight that just to make sure that it keeps that. Here, let me highlight that. That looks good. Looks like it got most other things, maybe a few refinements there. Make sure it includes the apron here. And overall, that looks really good. Now up on top, I could also remove areas if there's an area that I want to have be transparent. But overall, I think this looks good. It looks like it highlighted all the right area. Now right over here, we can click on this button and that will start Smart Cutout. Let's click on that. And now it'll go through and it'll process. Now that it's all done, down below, let's click on Save. And look at that. Here, if I scrub through the track, here we see me on top of the cookies. And it looks like I might need to go in and refine the shirt just a little bit more, but overall did a really good job. Now that we have a wonderful and engaging intro, I need to build out the rest of the video. Now, one thing you might have noticed is I have narration for the first clip, but for none of the remaining clips. To change that, right here, I can click on this icon and I can record a voiceover. Here I could select my microphone, also what type of countdown timer I want, and then I could click on record. This will play the video and then I can speak as the video is playing to record my voiceover. But let's actually see if maybe AI can help us with this. Right up on top, I'll close out of this window. And right up on the top toolbar, let's click on titles. And here's the option for default title. Let's click on that and drag it down to the timeline. I'll place it right there. And right up on top, let's click into titles. And here we could enter in the text that we want the AI to narrate. I'll remove this text here and then paste this in. If you'd like to follow along, feel free to copy the text from the description. Now that I've entered in all of my text, up on top, let's click on text to speech. Over here, you can select your language. You could also select the category of voices. I'll select ads. And then I like this voice with Greg. Let's have a quick listen.
Fun to share, creativity simplified.
I think that'll do a really good job narrating this video. I'll select this voice and then let's click on generate. Now that it's generated the voiceover, let's close out of that window. And here we no longer have a need for this text. So I'll select the text on the timeline and hit backspace to remove. But now we have the talk track that'll narrate how to make these cookies. Let's have a quick listen.
First, get your ingredients, then take 1 cup of softened.
Okay, that's sounding really good. Now, the next step is we now need to select all of the different clips from all of the project media and align it with the voiceover. So let's do that. Here, for example, let's move the playhead back to the beginning and let's play it.
First, get your ingredients, then take.
Okay, so right at this point in the waveform, he says, get your ingredients and then. So at this point, we want to cut off this clip showing all of the ingredients. I'll click right here and now we could trim the clip. And you can use any of the different methods that we've already talked about. I'll press Alt together with close bracket and that'll cut the clip right there. Now let's watch it to see how it looks.
First, get your ingredients, then take 1 cup of.
That's looking really good. Next, we need to align all of the different clips in the media bin to the talk track. All of the different clips are numbered in order in which they should appear on the timeline. So this is a really good opportunity to put to practice everything that you've learned so far about cutting and trimming and adding items to the timeline. Feel free to go through, add all the different items to the timeline and align it with the talk track. And once you do that, we'll continue. Once you finish adding all of your different clips to the timeline down below and you align it with the talk track, you should have something that looks like this. So what did you think of that exercise? By aligning all of the different clips with the talk track, it forces you to make very quick edits, and that also helps keep the video more interesting. Once you add all of them, you should have something that looks like this. Up above, I'll jump into full screen mode and let's have a quick preview.
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies in just 60 seconds.
First, get your ingredients, then take 1 cup of softened butter and mix together with 1 cup white sugar and 1 cup brown sugar. Then beat in 2 eggs. Add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of chocolate chips. Once mixed, drop spoonfuls of dough onto an ungreased baking sheet. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes or until the edges are nicely browned. And there you have it. Delicious homemade chocolate chip cookies.
So far, I think this video is coming together great. And what I think is so amazing is we show people how to make chocolate chip cookies in just 38 seconds. That is so quick, but also packed with value. Now, I think one thing that would make this video even better is if we had some music, maybe some fun and upbeat music. Up on top, let's click on the button that says audio. And here we have all sorts of different options for audio. For example, you could access music on your computer. Over here, they even have something called AI music, where you can generate music using AI. It's so cool. Down below, you also have sound effects, and you have a massive music library. Let's see if maybe AI can generate some music. That'd be kind of fun to experiment with. Here, I'll click on AI music, and then let's click on Start. This opens up a dialog where we can now generate music using AI. This is so cool. Right up on top, we can select the mood, the theme, or here you could also select the genre, but I'll select the mood. Now, this is all about making cookies, so I want it to be happy, so I'll make sure that this one is selected. Down below, you can also select the tempo, or how quick the music should be. I'll go with normal. Over here, you can set the music duration, and I'm going to decrease it to about 40 seconds. That way, it matches how long our video is. And over here, you can also select how many music tracks you want the AI to generate. Let's start with 3 to see how they turn out, and then let's click on Start. This has now generated 3 different AI music tracks, and right here, we can click on it to preview it. Ooh, I really like that one. I think it sounds good. Right up on top, I can now download the online content. And here, it looks like it's now displayed in AI music generated. Let's click on View, and here I can see that track that AI generated. Now, I want this music to play throughout the video. So here, I'll click on the music track, and I can now drag it down to the timeline, and here I'll place it at the bottom. So that way it'll sit under the talk track. Let's have a quick look to see how this turned out. I'll press the Home key to go to the very beginning of the timeline. Now, I'll press spacebar to play.
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies.
Now, one thing you'll notice is the music is far too loud, and it's really hard to hear what I'm saying. There are a few different ways that you can adjust the different volumes of all your different tracks. Right down here, I can see the song that we just inserted, and you see this long line above all of the waveforms. This allows you to adjust the volume level. So here I could click on it and I could lower it down. There you also see a number. Here I can see that I'm lowering it by about, let's say about 20 decibels or so. Now when I play it,
In just 60 seconds.
it's now a lot easier to hear what I'm saying. Now, if you want even more control over all of the different volume levels in your video project, right up here, you can click on this icon and this opens up the audio mixer. Here you can see all the different audio for your different video tracks. And here, if I move over to the right, you can also see all of the different individual audio tracks. When I hit the play icon,
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies in just 60.
Here you can see all the different levels for the video as well as the different audio tracks. So here I see audio 2 or the song, and when we play it,
60 seconds.
First, get your ingredients.
perhaps I want to lower it down just a little bit more. So here we'll lower it by a few more decibels, and now let's listen.
Then take 1 cup of softened butter and mix together with 1 cup white sugar and 1 cup brown sugar. Then beat in.
I think that sounds really good now. So in the bottom right-hand corner, let's click on Apply. The audio levels now sound really good, and I think now I need to make a few final tweaks to the video before I can publish it. Here at the very beginning of the video, I call out that these are the best.
The best.
And I would like to have some type of text that reinforces what I say. Here, I'll place the playhead right at the point when I say best. Up on top, let's click on titles. And here we have all these different text effects that you can insert into your project. And there is a wide variety of different options that you can choose from. And in fact, you can customize many of these. Now, I like this one called 3D Yellow Title. I think this will work well. So here, I'll press on it and then drag it down to my timeline, and I'll place it right at the playhead. Next, I'll click on text, and right up above, let's click on basic, and here I could edit the text. I want it to say best. So let's have a quick preview of what this looks like.
Best.
Now, right now the text comes in right on my face, and I don't want it to be positioned there. So with this object selected on the timeline, over on the right-hand side, I have all of the properties associated with this text. And here I can modify anything. If I want to make it italicized, if I want to adjust the size or the font, I have all of those options. But I simply want to adjust the position. Right here, I see the option for position, and I want to adjust the Y. Here, I'll drag it down, and let's place it right there. And also, maybe we go a little bit bigger here. Let's go up. Maybe we go with, let's say 150, just so it's larger sized. Now let's play it and see how it looks.
The best chocolate.
Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I want it to drop out. So let me reduce the length of this. So you can trim different objects just like you can a video clip. You could do it with text. You could do it with audio. You have all those same controls. So here, let's trim it just a little bit more. And right up on the right-hand side in the pane, you have an option for animation. And when I click on this, you could define what the in animation is or how it should come in and also how it goes out. Now, currently there's already an animation set on the in. So here, I'll click on the out, and why don't we just have it kind of fade out at the end? Now let's see how this turned out.
The best chocolate chip cookies in.
I think that looks really good. It really reinforces what I'm saying. I like that. I also want to add a transition at the end of the video. Here, if we go to the very end of the timeline, I'll press play.
Have it.
I pull the cookies out of the oven and then it just cuts directly to the cookies, but I think I need something just to indicate there's been a little bit of a time change there. So up on the very top, let's click on transitions. And here I have so many different categories of transitions that I can choose from. One that I really like is called the Warp Zoom 6. To insert a transition, I could simply press and hold on that and I could drag it down to my timeline. And now I could place it in between two separate clips. I'll place it there and let's have a quick look.
And there you have it.
Now that transition takes a little bit long and I want it to go a little bit quicker. So right here with the transition selected, I can reduce the duration. So here, let me bring it in just a tiny bit, maybe right at about there, and let's have a preview.
And there you have it. Delicious.
Ooh, that looks good. Up above, looking at the picture of the cookies, these look so delicious, but I want to add maybe a little bit of sparkle and really just add some excitement. So right up on top, let's click on effects. And here we have a wide variety of different effects that we can insert into the video. So here you have body effects, and here you can preview what these look like simply by hovering over. Now right up on top, we have a wide variety of video effects, and here down below, we also have audio effects that you can insert, and you even have some plugins like the New Blue FX and also Boris FX. So you could do a lot of different things. But I think maybe adding some particles would really add a nice touch. Right up here, I'll click on video effects, and in the search box, I'll type in particle and then search. Here we have a few different particle options, and maybe these gold particles right here, star particle effect. Let's take that and I can now drag this effect. Now I could place it down below if I want to apply this effect to multiple clips, or I could simply drag it on a clip and that will apply the effect to this individual clip. Let's go back and see how that turned out.
Delicious homemade chocolate.
Ooh, it almost feels like heat is emanating from these cookies. That looks so good. Looking at this clip of me eating the cookie, I think what could really add to this is maybe throwing a sticker on that just describes how good they both look and also taste. I think maybe a sticker could work really well here. Up on top, we have these different categories. I'll click on stickers, and here we see all sorts of different stickers that I could insert. And a sticker really is, just like the name implies, something you could stick on top of your video. Now, I like this wow sticker, and look, it even has an animation. That is so cool. Now I can press and hold on this and drag this down onto my timeline, and let's place it right up above me eating the cookie. Here, I'll scroll over to the side a little bit, and we're going to trim that so it ends with me eating the cookie. Now, if I play, that looks really cool, but the problem is it's covering my face and you can't see the cookie. So here, we could click on the sticker in the preview window, and here I can adjust the size, so I'll make it a little bit smaller, and then I can move it down here. And what's nice is I get this nice line to help me center the sticker in the middle of the frame. Now, when we play it, let's take a look.
Chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, that's a nice touch. The last thing I want to do before publishing this video is to include captions. Now, so often when people watch shorts on, say, TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, they have their volume turned off and they can't actually hear the talk track. So I want captions that reinforce and match everything that's being said. Right down here on my timeline, here I have the talk track or the narration for the whole video. I'll right click on this talk track. And right up here, there's the option for speech to text. So it'll take all of that speech or all of that narration and then turn it into text. Let's click on that. This opens up a dialog, and up on top I can choose the language. It's in English, so I'll leave that. One of the neat things is you could even translate it into a different language. That way you can make your video available in other markets, but I just want it in English, so I'll leave it as is. Right here, you have the option to simply convert the clip or the entire timeline sequence. I want it for the entire video, so I'll select this. And there's now a new feature called Add Automatical Active Words. This is where it'll highlight the word that's currently being said. I think that really adds a nice touch, so I'll make sure to check that box. Over here, it'll generate titles, and down below, let's click on OK. It's now inserted captions onto my video. Over on the right-hand side, I can choose a template for my captions. I like this one right here, so I'll click on this, and then I could click on the pencil icon, and I could customize what these captions look like. So, for example, I could change the font type, I could change the color, I could also change the size. I have that control. Right over here, let's click back into templates. Now, this text is a little bit hard to read. I could click on it and I get these handles in the corners. So here I could expand it a little bit just to make it easier to read what this text says. I think that size is, maybe just a tiny bit bigger. I think that looks good. Now, I want to apply these changes to all the different captions in this video. So in the bottom right-hand corner, I'll click on Apply to All, and then click on Apply, and this will now go through and change all of the captions. Let's go to the beginning of the video to see how it turned out.
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies in just 60 seconds.
First, get your ingredients, then
Wow, that looks really good. And I didn't have to type any of that text. AI took all of the narration and then it automatically converted it into captions. That makes work so easy. I think this video is really coming together nicely, and I think we're just about ready to publish it. To export this video, in the top right-hand corner, we have this button that says Export. I'll click on that, and here, this opens up a prompt where we can define all of the different export settings. Right up on top, you can give your file a name. I'll call it KCC for Kevin Cookie Company. You could choose where you want to save this file on your computer. You could also choose the format, and you have lots of different options, but MP4 is one of the most common, so I'll select that. Here you could also choose the quality. I'll go with recommended. You could also select the resolution, and I'm not going to change that. I'll just leave it as is, and it's also currently set to 30 frames per second. Down below, there are a few other options, but I'll leave these all set as is. Now, over on the left-hand side, there's also a new feature where Filmora will automatically generate a thumbnail for you. That's a fun one to experiment with. Up on top, you can also upload directly to YouTube, TikTok, Vimeo, and other services. Simply click on them and make sure to log in. But I'm now all ready to export, so in the bottom right-hand corner, let's click on Export. And look at that, the video has exported successfully. Right over here, I could even use AI to generate a title and a description that I can then use on social media. It makes it so easy to prep my video for distribution. Let's have a final look at how the video turned out.
Here's how you can bake the best chocolate chip cookies in just 60 seconds.
First, get your ingredients, then take 1 cup of softened butter and mix together with 1 cup white sugar and 1 cup brown sugar. Then beat in 2 eggs. Add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of chocolate chips. Once mixed, drop spoonfuls of dough onto an ungreased baking sheet. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes or until the edges are nicely browned. And there you have it, delicious homemade chocolate chip cookies.
And look at that. We have a beautiful video that we can now post to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And hopefully it wasn't even that hard. AI makes so many of these tasks that much easier. To watch more videos like this one, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.